The views and opinions expressed in the Golden Boot podcast are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Golden Boot podcast as a whole.
Y'all ready to get rolling? Quiet on the set. Hey, welcome back. Another hot episode of the Golden Boot. It's your boy Pooh Bear. I got my man Aunt Patty Murphy in the building. What's good with you, my boy?
What's happening with it, bro?
Man, dog days of summer getting close. That heat is heat picking up.
Yeah,
it ain't no joke. I was doing work inside the house today, and I was sweating. I think the word that they use is profusely.
Yeah, it's starting to get a little toasty outside, my bro.
Yeah, it is. So that can only mean one thing. We getting closer to summer workouts. We are getting I ain't gonna say we're getting closer. We in summer workouts.
Less than 100 days to kickoff, baby.
Man, I can't wait. I cannot wait. Speaking of can't wait, we got another guest coming on later on in the show. Mr. Rob Brown, host of the Rob Brown Show. You know, gonna come on talk South Carolina with us, South Kakalaki. I think I might ask him a question or two about Spencer Rattler too, man.
Of course, you got to, man. You
got to do that. But man, we got to talk about some of the other stuff going on too. A lot of stuff going on, and we got to start with baseball. We'll get there, but first, what we got to do? We got to give a shout out to our sponsors over at BetOnline. BetOnline.ag. We'll be back in 1 minute. BetOnline.ag is your number one source for all your sports information, stats, news, and scores. Get the latest odds, lines, and player injury reports for this year's NBA and NHL playoffs. BetOnline is always your sports information headquarters. This season, we have you covered for all your sports wagering needs. We have everything from NBA, NFL, MLB, and NHL to golf, tennis, UFC, and boxing. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info, including live betting options and your favorite casino and card games that you can play right from your home. Head on over to betonline.ag today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Be sure to use the promo code BLEAV to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. And we are back. Baseball. It's starting to, College World Series is taking shape, man. We got we know a couple teams that'll be in Omaha already. Pains me to say it, but it also makes me feel better about the fate of LSU. North Carolina is in there.
Yeah.
They won. They finished, did what they had to do. Right now,
Florida in there.
Yeah.
They walked it off
over Clemson.
Over Clemson in 13th to
That's wild.
Omaha. It was a crazy game, bro.
Yeah. Virginia is in there. They took down Kansas State. Florida State, they battled with UConn yesterday. It wasn't a close game at all the first day, but they battled with UConn to get in there. Tennessee, right now, yeah, it's 12-1. So it looks like Tennessee will be avoiding that upset, that embarrassment again. Oregon State Kentucky beat Oregon State. They play at 8:00. Well, actually, it looks like they'll be starting now. Georgia and North Carolina State, they'll be playing tomorrow to decide who advances. And I'm missing one. Oh, Texas A&M and Oregon are in the bottom of the fourth. Oregon is up 7-4. So you're all caught up on NCAA baseball.
Is it just me or like I personally don't really have much interest in the College World Series since LSU got put out.
I'm not as interested as I usually would be. However, I am interested in seeing some teams lose, if that makes sense. I guess misery truly does love company. So I was hoping that Evansville, could pull that upset because the way Tennessee, I don't know. I was just hoping it was 20.
I was rooting for Evansville just because of the story, man. They were a 4 seed in that regional at East Carolina. They were able to pull the unbelievable feat of winning the regional. You know what I mean? Then if they were to go into the number 1 overall seed and knock them off too, that's something we ain't never seen before. Well, as a matter of fact, whenever they beat Tennessee, they become the first 4 seed in a regional
to ever beat
1 overall seed. You know what I mean? So what they've done is already pretty remarkable. But I kind of was hoping that they'd pull off the whole thing.
Yeah. So 4 seeds against number 1 overall seeds are now 1-30.
Yep.
1-30. That's funny. Danny mentions Florida and Tennessee both need to lose. I was hoping that Florida would have lost at least, made it close against Clemson. That's crazy. I was cheering for Clemson.
I was too, but as bad as Florida has been this year, though, bro, they remind me of Ole Miss from a few years ago. You know what I mean? Should they have even gotten in the tournament? Who knows? But if they get hot at the right time, you see what can happen. And with the talent that they have on their team, anything is possible. You know what I mean? And they've shown that they're good enough to get to Omaha as they've done this year by beating Clemson, like we just talked about. But now that they're in Omaha, they got as good a chance of anybody. They're as talented as anybody. They just haven't put it together at times all season. So
yeah,
we'll see, man. But I think Florida got a good shot at winning it all. As bad as I hate saying it, you know what I mean?
I agree.
I'm just being honest.
I agree. And I have to apologize. So I get, well, actually, I won't even, let's not tell I guess that I was pulling for Clemson. Who else? It was another team that West Virginia. I was hoping,
Yeah, with their coach retiring.
Yeah,
great story.
Fox mentioned it. I think it was Fox, so it may have been on y'all show. One of the other segments where they're talking about Florida State still being in it. Yeah, that's kind of, especially with Coach Moore passing away.
That's who I'm rooting for now.
Yeah. So
I was rooting for West Virginia since that coach was retiring. I was kind of hoping that, with that storyline, coach retiring, you go out winning for him. I was kind of hoping to see that happen. But now that they're out, with the passing of Mike Martin earlier this year, what he meant for Florida State baseball, NCAA baseball, he never really was able to win one. But if Florida State was to win one and kind of for him, I think that's the best story that you got right now in the College World Series.
I'm looking right now at the potential Omaha bracket, and I didn't even pay this any attention before, but you're looking at 1, 2. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 SEC teams and 1, 2, 3 ACC teams.
Yeah.
So I mean, technically, it can be 4-4. With if North Carolina State can pull the upset tomorrow, but that is, I say upset, but pull the win tomorrow. That's crazy. To you know what I'm saying, it's down to basically those two conferences.
Yep.
Trying to think, what do we got anything else on baseball? I think that's pretty much it. All I've got.
I mean, the biggest series of the MLB season is happening right now, and it just so happens to be going one way. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna say nothing, but
yeah.
You know, the Dodgers taking care of business up there in the Bronx.
Oh, damn! I thought you was talking about the Cardinals over the Rockies. Yeah, I was gonna say the Cardinals. Cardinals will do. I'm surprised about my guys, man. But yeah, man. It's funny. We've talked more baseball right now than we've talked all season, and I'm feeling a little ill on the stomach. So let's move on. Let's talk a little football before we get ready for I guess. LSU got a boost yesterday in the running back room with the announcement of the return of John Emery.
Yes, sir.
He initially went into the portal, was looking like he was going to UCLA, but he is back at LSU with
coming off of an injury though.
Yeah, coming off an injury. With what we know is going on, or what we don't know, was with Trey Hollis still praying for that situation. What is this? How do you feel about at least getting a body back? Not necessarily sure how much of an impact it'll be, but
I mean, we needed numbers at the position, so I think that addition of any kind is a bonus. I'm just not gonna expect too much out of him. You know what I mean? Because he's coming off of an injury, because we know we've seen little of him throughout his time here at LSU. Although some of those glimpses have been spectacular, it's been exactly that, glimpses. So I'm not going to expect much more than what we've seen from him so far. But like I said, you never know, if you get a couple guys banged up, you might have to rely on him. So having a capable body there is always a bonus. But I just don't know if you're really gonna get much from him. You know what I mean? And coming off of that injury, I think that's gonna kind of hinder him even more in his elusiveness, his explosiveness, some of those kind of things. I don't think he's really gonna be the same back that most of the fans are used to seeing from John Emery. So, but I'll take it just because, like I said, we needed bodies. And at this point of the season, as far as recruiting and transfer portal and all that, you ain't gonna really find anybody else that you could get. So it was either this or ride with what you got. So I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah. Before the John Emery departure, before the Trey Hollis situation, I felt like we needed one or two running backs anyway, and now we're a little bit deeper in that hole. I'm not sure, but there's got to be. I'm not gonna say there's got to be. I'm wondering who the next Josh Williams will be.
Malachi Lane.
That next walk on that's gonna step in and.
But it's like, bro, like I feel what you're saying, but listen to what you're saying.
Yeah, I understand.
Who's the next walk on that's gonna be somebody at LSU? Why the hell are we sitting up here asking about walk-ons contributing at LSU?
So, in all
like Josh Williams is a great story, but those should be like 1 in 1,000 stories. You shouldn't be looking for Josh Williams type players. You know what I'm saying? To have to contribute, you should already be loaded and stacked at that position. So yeah, I mean, we've done a good job recruiting. The Trey Hollis situation is unfortunate, and I hope it's settled sooner than later. But at the same time, even with Trey Hollis, you were still in a number situation where you was like, you could use more bodies. why is it that we sitting up here talking about we hope walk-ons can contribute instead of going and addressing that position?
In all fairness, we have scrutinized and beat the hell up on Ed Orgeron for his mismanagement of the roster.
Yeah.
I love Frank Wilson. I love what Brian Kelly is doing. But when we are, as I said, looking at walk-ons for running backs and defensive linemen.
I'm just saying, bro.
But we got 1 million wide receivers and DBs. Yeah.
But I mean, and it's also like it ain't just the fact that the numbers or where they are. It's the fact that last year you had like 8 running backs. You know what I mean? Like, how do you go from having too many running backs to not having enough in one damn offseason?
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more because I'm sure we'll discuss that with Rob when we'll get him on. Yeah. Latest story, man. I know you saw it because I know we mentioned it a little bit and talked about it in Spaces. NCAA is allowing field sponsor logos of sponsors on the field.
Like, I get it. Make a buck any way you can. But like, you know how like Penn State and Alabama have refused to change their uniforms and shit in 100 years or whatever. Like, I hope some of these schools be like, I understand I can do this, but I ain't doing this. You know what I mean? Like, because I don't want to see 33 logos in the middle of the damn field, and you know what I mean? And it looked like damn NASCAR out there on the field with a whole bunch of different logos. Like, I don't want to see that shit, man.
I hate it when the NBA started putting the logos on the jerseys. Personally,
I understand that more than I do putting them like on the field, though, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like if they want to put a little, if LSU want to put a Raising Cane's or whatever little sticker on their jersey or whatever, I'm cool with that. But like on the field, like
it's got. I'm gonna say that if
it's bad enough the SEC got their damn logo on the field.
That's true. Some of the logos I want to see though, I want them to be like, I want them to when you look at like, oh yeah, that's Louisiana. I want to see something like Tony Sachery's.
It's gonna be some stupid shit.
I want to see.
It's gonna be Zetarans or somebody like that, bro.
I want to see something like that. I want to see. I want to see. Go throwback. Be like Copeland's.
Right. Popeyes or some shit.
Yeah. Don't get me started on Popeyes. I ain't had Popeyes in a minute. I'm still upset.
Too dare disrespect Popeyes.
I'm beefing with Popeyes.
Not gonna do.
I'm beefing with Popeyes till they bring back the dirty rice. You can't even argue with that. Look at you. You can't even argue with that.
We got dirty rice in my Popeyes, so I mean, I don't know what you're talking about.
The hell with y'all.
I'm just saying. I don't know what you're talking about.
We ain't got dirty rice because they
took Bojangles guy or some shit.
Nah, you know what? Bojangles grew on me. I would say, so here's the funny story about it. This is you know how they tell you don't listen to other people's opinion, take stuff, say try stuff for yourself.
Yeah.
They opened a Bojangles and I was living in Montgomery at the time. They opened a Bojangles in Montgomery. Within 2 or 3 months, it shut down because it was getting no business. And I was like, man, this must suck. It was another one across town that was doing all right. So let me caveat this. Let me say this. The Bojangles on one side of the track was booming. The Bojangles on the our side of the track was they got it up out of there, shut it down. I moved to Huntsville. And I was doing, I think when I first moved up here, I started doing like DoorDash and stuff, learning restaurants and stuff. And a lot of people were ordering Bojangles. I was like, is it really, what I'm saying? They were like, the man was like, yeah. He's like, we were one of the highest selling stores in the state. I was like, oh, okay. I tried it. I was like, okay, this ain't that bad. They dirty rice is pretty good.
It ain't Popeyes, but
it ain't Popeyes.
Bojangles straight though. They I ain't gonna lie though. One thing they got me on the Popeyes is that Bo-Berry biscuit. I know Popeyes got the little strawberry biscuit or whatever, but that Bojangles biscuit be busting. But I ain't gonna lie.
They got Bo-Berry cookies now. I hadn't had it yet, but
now if they was to do a muffin, they'd mess around, boy.
Yeah. Oh, we got to get off food, man. But speaking of, McDonald's brought back the state bagels, so kudos to them. I give a shout out to them. So
never had it.
I'm disappointed. All right. Last thing, man, before we, bring up our guests. And I'm gonna ask him about this too. With the new playoff system, they had to hold on. Who said something?
Brian said that cookie sucks.
That cookie sucks. Oh, I don't know. I hadn't tried it yet. But with the new playoff system, we know bowl games are starting to have to be played earlier. It was announced that bowl games and the Army-Navy, bowl season will start the same day as the Army-Navy game, which means that's also the same day as the Heisman Trophy ceremony.
Yeah. I feel bad for Navy and Army though. Unless they already like 8-3 or something like that going into that game, then are you gonna be invited to a bowl game, or is it gonna be depending on what you do in that game? But if you don't play that game till bowl season start, you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I think they've got that special caveat. Like if they're already six wins.
Yeah, I mean, if they got 6 wins already, cool. But what if they 5-7 going into that game, or 5-6 going into that game?
Yeah, that's yeah. Good question. Paul said Heisman ceremony will take place between Army, Navy, and the bowl games. What do you mean take place in between? Because
like they're gonna play Army, Navy, go to the Heisman ceremony, and then go to the first bowl game.
It's gonna be kind of interesting.
It's gonna be a hell of a day for football.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I don't care if Army is 6-6 and Navy is 4-8 or vice versa. I'm watching that game.
I'm betting the under.
Betting the under. You got darn right. It's just something about that game. It's just I feel patriotic. What Dylan got a hat said too. America.
It's the pageantry of it, man.
America. That's how I feel. I just feel
America.
Start singing "America the Beauty" and stuff. All right, man. Let's go. We done blab long enough. Let's get our guest on here, man. Let's talk about some South Carolina. Talk about I'm not gonna say it. We'll talk about the Gamecocks. I'll leave it at that. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Want to welcome to the Golden Boot the host of the Rob Brown Show, Mr. Rob Brown himself. Thank you for joining us. How you doing this evening?
Damn, y'all made me a graphic. I feel like a WWE wrestler up here today, man. I love it. I got Popeyes v. Bojangles. I got a pro wrestling Titantron graphic. It's a good night. What's up, fellas?
What's going on,
man? How you doing this evening?
Doing good, man. I'm doing good. I'm sitting here watching. I got Boston. I got Boston minus 6.5. Was I crazy? I wasn't crazy, right? Boston minus 6.5 feels good tonight, right?
I'm be honest with you. Boston anything feels.
Yeah, I just think they got too much depth for Dallas, man. I don't think Dallas can handle the firepower.
All right, let's be real. Popeyes is listen, I live in the Carolinas now. I know y'all don't know this yet. We hadn't gotten a chance to meet. I'm originally from Louisiana. All right, I was born, I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Okay.
If anyone, anybody, anywhere tries to tell you that Bojangles is even in the conversation with Popeyes, they're not your friends. They don't like you. They don't care about you. They don't want what's best for you. All right, just ignore them. Move on to better people in your life. This is important.
That is fair. That's fair. The only people who really, I would say, will pick Bojangles or North Carolina people.
Yep. Listen, and your boys in the chat are right. The Blueberry Biscuit's nothing to play with. All right, that's it's good. I will stop at a Bojangles for a Blueberry, but if you got to pick one and you go Bojangles over Popeyes, you're a bad person. That's just, I'm sorry. Sorry, everybody in the Carolinas. I love y'all. Like Taylor loves a breakup song. Popeyes is better. It just is what it is, man.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah. So full transparency to the chat. We were looking for someone to talk South Carolina with us, and our good man, Carter the Power Bryant, said, "Hey, I know exactly who you can reach out to." You gave me your name and your Twitter, and I reached out, and sure enough, you were like, "Hey, I could do it. I'll definitely be on. I look forward to it." Appreciate that. Fully do appreciate that. So first, tell us about yourself. I know you told us, originally from Louisiana, but tell us more about yourself.
Yeah, man. So I'm from New Orleans, but so I grew up on the beaches of the Florida Panhandle. I started my broadcasting career down there about 17 years ago on a little bitty mom and pop FM sports talk station. I was there for, I don't know, 15 years, and then moved over to Jacksonville to take a job with the Jaguars in Jacksonville. Don't do that. Jacksonville's the worst city in America. It's the butthole of America. It's a terrible place. If you can avoid it, don't ever go. Damn. It's the worst place. And then, I was there about 6 months, lost that gig, and had a buddy living here in Greenville, South Carolina, doing a show. And he called me and was like, "Hey, man, I want to put you in for this gig." So I moved up here. I did my first show about 6 days before the COVID lockdown started back in 2020, and been here ever since, man. And so I'm in Greenville, South Carolina, but we broadcast from Greenville over to Spartanburg. So basically the whole northwest corner of South Carolina we cover up. We're about 2 hours south of Charlotte, and it's great, man. It's great. Love the Carolinas. Have been here ever since. Met my fiance, soon-to-be wife up here, and life is good, bro. Life is good. It's been fantastic. Any place that I have tricked people into paying me money to talk about college football, I'm going to be all right.
Hey, real quick, has Carter done guest fill-ins for you on your Okay.
He has. So Carter, I met Carter
upstate or something like that. Right?
That's it. I met Carter about it must have been about the time I was doing fill-ins about 4 years ago when I started my show, and he would fill in, and we always laughed because Carter would come on and he would have this whole the way he outro the station. So we're called the Fan Upstate in upstate South Carolina, and he would always lean in to be like, "The Fan Upstate," and it was just the most, it just jumped off at me. But I met Carter that way through Twitter. He's a good dude, man. Love Carter and appreciate him putting my name in for you guys, man. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's come full circle because Carter was guest hosting the show, got me to call. I called in, did a segment or two with him, talking NFL draft for the Saints one time, and then I did another one talking WNBA. So it's crazy that it's come full circle, and now you hopping on our show. So glad for you to be here with us, bro.
Happy to do it, boys. Happy to do it.
So let's jump in. Let's talk South Carolina. But before we go forward, we got to look back. Saints drafted Spencer Rattler. A lot of Saints fans are a little torn because the Spencer Rattler that a lot of Saints fans know or really remember was the Spencer Rattler that was the arrogant little asshole that was getting into it with his teammate. But we've heard that is not the Spencer Rattler that the Saints are getting. Tell us about the Spencer Rattler that the Saints are getting.
So I know you probably can't see it because you got me on the angle. Grew up a Saints fan. All right, was wrapped in a Florida League blanket when I was born. I've been a Saints fan since the day I was born. So I was very protective of my fellas. All right, you're gonna love Spencer Rattler. You're gonna love this kid. Yeah, I know you got that video, but I think there's two things that kind of grew on me during Spencer's time in Columbia. Number one, y'all, reality TV is the worst thing that ever happened to America. All right, I need y'all to, if you watch a reality show, I'm begging you to stop. I'm begging you to stop. That video, and I've talked to people close to Spencer about that. That video was clipped on a bad day and put out there. And I know that everybody who ever looks bad in reality TV says that, right? Oh, so it's out of context. Like, all right. I'm going to take some people's word on that. But I am going to tell you that Spencer Rattler in Columbia, South Carolina, y'all, the Gamecock fans fell in love with this kid. All right. He was everywhere. He was, I don't want to say mild-mannered. Like, the dude can be fired up on game day, right? Like, he'll get gassed up. This was a dude who played for a football team last year that stank. There ain't no way to put it. That team was bad, right? Like, he was playing behind 5 wet paper towels of an offensive line. He had Xavier Legette, who's now right up the road in Carolina. That's a divisional opponent. Y'all go ahead and get ready for that kid because he's going to be a star. Yeah. He had Xavier Legette, and outside of that, he had nobody because you had Juice Wells, who just transferred down to Ole Miss. Mm-hmm. He did not play last year because he had a hurt foot. No, he didn't. He just didn't want to play. He wanted that NIL money before he took the jet down to go hang out with Lane Kiffin. Outside of that, man, they had no weapons. And you never once heard Spencer Rattler complain or moan or get out there and start throwing the blame around or throw anybody under the bus. He just came out week after week and did every damn thing he could to get a couple of wins that they didn't deserve. Spencer Rattler is a dude. I'll give you one real quick story just so you can kind of familiarize yourself. I've got a buddy of mine who lives here in Greenville. We're about an hour and 40 minutes away from Columbia. So it's close enough to be a fan, but it ain't like you just go whenever you want to go, right? So my guy went over and he took his 2 kids, and his 2 kids made Spencer Rattler some friendship bracelets. I guess that's all the rage with the Ute today, right? Like the friendship bracelets. So they made Spence some friendship bracelets, and they brought him to the guy. They do before every game, they do what they call the cock walk, which is where the football players go from the facility across the street to the stadium, but they walk right through all the fans. Every school's got that version of that tradition. Right. And these kids leaned over the rail when Spencer Rattler walked by, and they handed him the friendship bracelets. And not only did he put them on, but he wore them in the game that day. Like, he wore them out on the field that day. They got pictures hanging in their room of him set to throw a pass with their friendship bracelet on the arm. Well, the dad reached out to Spence on Twitter just to say thanks. You know what I mean? Like, appreciate you putting those on or whatever. And if you're a guy like Spencer Rattler, let's be real, your mentions is full every day, every night, all the time, right? This man would go through his mentions, go through his ats, and when somebody said nice stuff, he would DM him back and be like, I appreciate that. I'm happy to do it. Thanks for being a fan. Like, you could tell that the mentality of this kid kind of, he grew up, he advanced. I mean, when he left Oklahoma and when he lost his job to Caleb Williams at Oklahoma, bro, I think he took it kind of hard, right? Like, I think he was not mentally equipped and mentally prepared to handle that. So when he transferred to go play under Shane Beamer, a guy that he had a relationship with before. He transferred to play in a school where he was very clearly going to be QB1, right? There wasn't no threat. He was going to be asked to sit and ride pine for a couple of years. And when he got here and he realized the pressure that was going to be on him to be a QB and to be a leader, he genuinely embraced that. Like I said, man, I'm a Saints fan. I'm an NFL first fan. My Saints come first over college all the time. I wanted him. I said on my show in Greenville, I was like, look, this kid has steal of the draft potential. I said it before Robert Griffin III said it. I said, this kid's got steal of the draft potential. I had people calling my show going, all right, Rob, would you want your Saints to draft him? Yep. Yes, I do. Because I think the man's got future star written all over him. I think he's going to take some time because it did not go well in Columbia. That team was real bad. He didn't have weapons. He had a bad offensive line. He was running for his damn life all of the time. So I think you give him a couple of years to play and develop a little bit. There's a potential, and I would just like to go on the record right now and say, if I see Dennis Allen, it's on site, dude. It's on site. He's catching hands on site. Why is my man still coaching this damn football team? On site.
Yeah, I think he's just got a lot more fans with that last Dennis Allen comment. Yeah.
So let's go back. So Shane Beamer gets here. First year, he has like a revolving door of quarterbacks. Had like a grad student, like a 26-year-old grad student or something like that playing quarterback. Then he gets Rattler in. First year goes pretty good. Then you have, like you mentioned, Jaheim Bell transfers out. Juice Wells is hurt. All you really have is a get. Offensive line ain't really that good, so you kind of have a step back last year. Where is this team going into 2024, and have they addressed some of the deficiencies that they had last year?
There's a lot to it. Have they addressed the deficiencies? Nah. Like a little bit, right? They got some transfers. They got some guys that transferred in. They got some guys like DJ Braswell that have been kind of developing slowly, and I think they're going to be better. But man, like let's keep it a buck, right? You lost Xavier Legette. That man's a first-round draft pick. All right, I know a lot of people think XL was a reach for Carolina. I'm telling you, he's not. That dude's going to be a dude. All right, that's baby Randy Moss. Keep an eye on this kid. I'm telling you, as a Saints fan, I'm real mad he's in that NFC South, dude, because he is going to be real good for a long time. You lost Nick Argulio, you lost Dak Joyner, you lost Demario Brown, you lost Trey Knox, you lost Super Mario Anderson, you lost Juice Wells, you lost Omega Blake, you lost Jalen Nichols. That entire last list was almost your entire wide receiver core from last year, right? So you got a big problem there. Good news is you got a pretty good crop of transfers coming in. You got I think 5 different transfer wide receivers that are coming in this year, and you got some talent. You got some guys that are talent, but unfortunately, you're not getting talent like this kid stood out at Georgia or this kid stood out at Bama. You're getting guys that were standing out at Coastal Carolina, or you're getting a guy that was a third-string cat out of FSU, which, okay, great. Like, that's a good school, but you're not taking a top-flight wide receiver out of there, right? So I think it is going to be, unfortunately, another long year for South Carolina. I think Vegas has got the over/under total right now set at 5.5. And I got to tell you, I don't love it. I think if Carolina gets to 6, if they get to 500, it'll be a successful year. Now, the question mark is going to be, if you are South Carolina, it's not about 2024, my dudes. It's about 2025. It's about growing to the next season. But unfortunately for Shane Beamer, I think the Carolina fans are kind of sick of hearing that, right? Like, you're talking about 3 years at the helm, man. Like, most head coaches, you get 3 years. That's your turnaround spot. Where you talk about, like, guys like Matt Rule when he was at Baylor and at Temple and all that, and Nebraska's kind of setting him up for the same thing. Like, you got 3 years, and I would even make the argument, because I don't know about y'all, I've heard that 3 years thing for a long time. Again, let's keep it a buck here. The transfer portal, I don't think you get, like, that 3 years isn't as long as it used to be, right? Because it used to be, I'm going to give you 3 years to clear out the last guys and to get the new guys on the roster. But with the portal, you can start getting your guys right now. And am I right, Deion Sanders? Like, I'll turn a whole damn locker room over overnight if that's what I feel like I need to do. But I would also argue, to me, that kind of speeds up the timeline. Like, I'm not giving Deion Sanders, who, by the way, I got the blenders in the car, bro. I got the Deion glasses in the car. I've been influenced. I love primetime. But guy like primetime doesn't get the grace period that we used to give a guy 10 years ago, right? Because you kicked 31 kids off the roster. You brought in 31 of your own dudes. Bro, that's your roster now, right? That's not the old guys. That's your guys. And you got to deal with that. So, to me, Shane is a dude who has embraced the portal. He is not doing it the way that Deion Sanders is doing. He's a guy that's rotating over, 7, 8 guys, pardon me, a year. He's bringing in 7, 8 guys, but it's not like I said, not like Deion's doing it. And I think that some of the situations that have played out, like, Dak Joyner was a big part of that. That's a guy that played all 5 years. He gave everything he had to Carolina. He just ran out of eligibility. It happens. Guys like Omega Blake, like I thought Omega Blake was a very, very good, very consistent role wide receiver for South Carolina. He's a dude that's just, where's he going to end up? How's he going to end up fitting in? So I think it's a weird spot, fellas, and I know I'm kind of getting long-winded here, so I'll wrap this up, and then we can talk about some specific guys or whatever y'all want. Shane Beamer has done a stellar job of setting the culture in Columbia, right? Like he has set the culture. They're excited. This whole welcome home thing has caught on big with the fans. They're hanging the banners. Like, it's been great. But I think this is the year for me, and a lot of South Carolina fans don't feel this way, but I do. I think this is a year I got to see growth. And I'm not necessarily saying like, oh, you got to go 7-5, you got to go 8-4 this year. I'm saying you got to show me that this year's football team is better than last year's football team. And I'm looking at the paper, I'm looking at the roster, and I don't know if they are. So if they are, it is going to be because Shane Beamer is an X's and O's guy, and that is the question about him right now. We know he can recruit. We know he can build the culture. We know the locker room is all in line behind him. But it's the same question with Dion. Can you go out there and X's and O's and win me some football games? And it's hard to say yeah right now, right? It's kind of hard to say yeah after 3 years, dude. Like, you got a couple of upsets, upset win over Clemson, upset win on the road against Kentucky. These are all good wins. But, like, have you competed? You know what I mean? And it's tough in the SEC East. Like, I think the best things for South Carolina is no more divisions. We're just round robin in this thing across the SEC. Now, that's big for Carolina, except for, have you fellas taken a look at the South Carolina 2024 football schedule? By God, good luck, boys. It's rough. It's real rough.
Yeah. You mentioned about recruiting, bringing in the transfer portal. Does Beamer have the backing? Because we know nowadays, especially as you mentioned with the transfer portal, you kind of have to have a war chest to go out and get, even high school guys. Does he have the backing to kind of make those things happen?
He does. The NIL collective in Columbia is called the Garnet Trust, and they have been doing their best to move heaven and earth for this guy, right? Like, again, coaches can't be involved in the NIL, right? But suddenly they just happen to know all the guys that Shane Beamer wants to end up in Columbia, and they've got a good. Now, they are not Clemson, and they know it. They are not Georgia, and they know it. They are not Tennessee, and they know it. They are not Florida State or Florida, and they know it. But there is a pride about the Gamecock football program that they know that they are the David versus a fistful of Goliaths, and they know that they got to do something special to be able to compete with those other schools. So they have the collective in Columbia is always active, right? And I'll tell you one thing that I love that they've been doing, because to me, it's about depth as much as it is anything else, right? It's about having guys that want to be there. One of the things I watched this NIL do, there was a guy who was playing backup quarterback there under Shane for a couple of years named Colton Gother. Colton Gother was a backup QB who wanted to be a country music star. Tell you what this collective did. This collective started giving this guy sponsorship money to go online and play online concerts, right? So if you were a Gamecock, you could log into a website. You could log into a website, send $15 to the NIL, and go into this room and watch your backup quarterback play a country music concert. And like, he was all right? Didn't jump off the page. He's all right as a musician and an artist. But hey, man, if you want the next guy to come down and feel like I can make some money, I can do NIL, I also got a fan base that loves me and wants me to succeed, packing a few thousand people into a virtual room to watch a backup quarterback play country music on a guitar for 30 minutes, make $4 or $5 grand doing it. That's how you convince that next kid to want to come to town, and that's the kind of thing that this collective's been doing it over the years.
Yeah. My question is, and we kind of got some comments in the chat about the same thing. We know that there's a certain sport in South Carolina that's been dominating over the past handful of years. Has South Carolina become a women's basketball school? And if so, how does that affect the way they use the collective for football?
So, I mean, look, I think anybody who says anything other than yes is kind of lying to themselves, right? Like, yeah, of course it is. They're the most dominant school. Honestly, right now, like, short of Oklahoma softball, they're in a team in America that's as dominant at their thing as Don Staley's been in women's basketball over the years, right? Like, you got a 4-peat for Oklahoma softball, and then everything else is run through Columbia for the women. How has it affected the football team? I mean, I'll be real with you. I got no idea. Like, I got no idea. I know Dawn Staley keeps cranking out incredible talent. Camila Cardoso in the gang coming through. Aaliyah Boston from a couple of years ago. Asia Wilson, to me, the best player in the W right now is Asia Wilson, who played in South Carolina. Like, probably 4 of the top 6 players in the WNBA are all Gamecocks, right? Like, they done something special under Dawn Staley. I don't know if there or what the impact is between the women's basketball team on football. Here's what I will tell you, and I do appreciate this about them. Shane Beamer can be seen at just about every home women's basketball game, and Dawn Staley can be seen on the sideline at just about every home men's football game, right? Like these two and all the other coaches that are there. And they got some changes going on right now. They just hired South Carolina just fired their baseball coach, Mark Kingston. They just fired their softball coach. They just fired their equestrian coach. I'm sure you got a bunch of horse racing fans back there in the background of the chat right now. But there's a lot of turnover for the Gamecocks right now. And I have always been impressed with how connected these teams and these coaches are in Columbia. And I know that's kind of like, oh, that's true at every school. Sure, but like, go watch Dawn Staley's Twitter during football season, bro. Like, she talks. She talks. She tries to drum up support. She tries to get people interested and engaged in whatever. And go look at, hell, it's that way between the men's and the women's basketball program. It's that way between the football and the basketball program. It's that way between the golf and the soccer and the baseball and they do a very good job in Columbia of trying to have a very integrated sports culture that brings a little bit of everybody to the table. And I do think that has helped to some degree with some recruiting wins that South Carolina's had in state the last couple of years. Because they, like I said, Shane has done a good job at culture building. I don't know that a better word isn't done a really good job at community building around Columbia.
Our good man, Andrew Paul's asked the question, who are the possible options to replace Kingston?
There's a few that have been thrown out there right now. I know Kevin O'Sullivan at Florida is a dude that South Carolina fans have been locked in at. I don't know that he's leaving because I believe he's been at Florida since like 1746, right? Like I don't think he's getting up out of there. I do know right now that Chris Pollard at Duke seems to be the priority target for them. Chris Pollard at Duke, and then I'm blanking on the name right now, but the coach at Wake Forest, Tom Walter, is the other name that's been thrown out there. Pollard is actually both of these guys are pretty interesting choices because they've both done well at smaller schools in the ACC, which is a very good baseball conference, right? I mean, it just is. Like, it's the ACC and the SEC neck and neck. And if it wasn't for Clemson absolutely Clemsoning and just crapping the bed in their super regional, I think the argument would have been ACC 1A, SEC 1B. Florida, I don't know how in the hell Florida got in the damn regionals anyway with a 28-27 record. Get the hell out of here. That's weak, but whatever. They won the super regional they're in. Either way, Pollard at Duke and Walter at Wake Forest are two guys that went to a small school, with both of them high academic requirements to get in and to succeed. I think what both of them have done at their respective schools is likely the reason that they are being mentioned as the two top guys. If it is neither one of those guys, I would not be shocked to see South Carolina make a run with Monty Lee, who is the former Clemson coach, who has been under Mark Kingston at South Carolina for a couple of years. They might just slide because the players love this kid, right? They love this guy. He recruited most of the guys on the roster. He's got most of the high-level recruits coming in next year coming for him. So if they can't get either Pollard or Walter, I suspect they'll go Monty Lee and give him a second shot. He was at Clemson 6 years, went to, I think, 3 super regionals and never got out of one. So the Gamecock fans are a little concerned. You're just going to hire another guy that can't get out of a super regional. But man, if you got a roster full of kids that are real good players that love the guy and they'll stay on board because of him, and nobody else you want says yes, it might not be the worst play.
Yeah, my question is there concern when you look at Ray Tanner, AD firing 2 coaches who made the postseason in their respective sports? What does that mean for Shane Beamer this season? Is it bowl or bust? I mean, like, what's the expectations for him to not be on the hot?
I'll tell you what, every year I do on my show, which is the Rob Brown Show. You can follow me on Twitter at the Rob Brown Show and at thefanupstate.com. Get my podcast. Boom! Shameless self-promotion. Appreciate it, fellas. I think that when you, what you sipping on, bro? What you sipping on? Little bourbon in the cup?
Yeah, man.
My man, I like it. I like it. There's a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure on Ray Tanner right now. Mark Kingston being moved on in the baseball program. The Gamecocks have wanted that for a long time. To make the move with a softball coach, I think you were kind of at the right spot. You're resetting that whole area of the athletic department, and I think that's all good. But if you make that reset and you don't hire a winner, if you're Ray Tanner, I think not only are you going to have some questions to answer next baseball season, but I think almost indirectly you kind of start turning the eyes to Shane Beamer, right? Like if Ray Tanner has not been able to pick a winner anywhere else, because let's be real, like I'm not trying to dog on my South Carolina brethren right now, but outside of Don Staley, who's the winner right now, right? Like where's the winner in Columbia? I love Shane. Shane's a good guy. Shane comes on my show a couple of times a year. Super good guy. I love him to death. What's the success? I mean, you beat Clemson one time. Cool. Like 1 time out of 3 shots. Cool. Ray's got to get a winner. He's got to get a winner on the baseball field. He's got to get a winner on the softball diamond. And if he does not do that, and they're not competing next year, and let's say Shane doesn't get a bowl game this year, let's say they go 5-7 again, or 4-8, which is a real possibility. It's a tough schedule. Then I think not only do the eyes start turning towards Ray Tanner, like, all right, dude, like you've had multiple opportunities to get it right and you haven't done it. But I think the eyes turn towards Shane Beamer at that point too, because at that point, you're a Ray Tanner guy, right? You're a Ray Tanner hire, and we've seen that every other hire Tanner's made has been the wrong decision. I think at that point you might be looking at just setting the whole athletic department back on a hard reboot, going back to the beginning and seeing what happens, and that includes with the athletic director.
So you've mentioned the schedule, and I've actually just pulled it up and really looked at it, and I'm trying to find the breaking schedule. At least a few games back to back where you're not fighting for your life. You got Old Dominion to start it off. Then you got to go to Kentucky, welcome LSU to Columbia for the first time since 2015. And
you boys coming up? Y'all coming up?
Oh no,
in Columbia?
No, I won't be. I won't be. I can explain that one a little bit. A lot of our viewers know. I've got a son. He's starting at Houston, so.
All right, I can't fight with that. Fight with that.
But the first time since 2015 that LSU is coming to South Carolina, and even in 2015, LSU didn't make it because of the hurricane. So you've got that game. After that, you've got Akron. You've got Ole Miss. You go to Alabama, to Oklahoma. You welcome in Texas A&M. You get Vandy, or you go to Vandy, Mizzou, Wofford, Clemson. So, where's the break?
Good job, piss off.
What break? What break? Ain't no break. Like you got, like you mentioned, ODU out the gate. That's it, right? Like, I mean, and here's the thing. I'm looking at South Carolina and even South Carolina Vanderbilt. Like, I don't know what that game looks like, right? So you got Old Dominion in week 1. And by the way, I don't know if y'all paid attention to Old Dominion football the last couple of years. Yeah. They put a little dog franchise together, right? Like they put a scrappy little franchise together you might want to pay attention to. Kentucky's interesting because there's been a little bit of a rival between Mark Stoops and Shane Beamer that's built up the last couple of years. Because Shane's young, he's fun, he's hitting the Dougie in the locker room and putting on the Vipers glasses in the locker room and getting the boys hype in the locker room. And then you got Mark Stoops who comes out and he's like, oh, that's climate change. It's not culture change. And it's like, dude, shut up. Like, it's football. It's supposed to be fun. Why don't you relax a little bit? And Shane's taking a little joy in beating Mark Stoops a couple of times since that moment. So they'll get up for that game against Kentucky. LSU coming to town, like I said, y'all tell me what LSU is going to look like compared to last year. I will say very simply that I did love sitting in the green room and listening to what walk-on's going to step up. My man, listen to what you just said. Listen to what you just said about LSU. You just said what walk-on's going to step. Y'all should not be saying what walk-on's going to. We should be saying it. South Carolina should. Kentucky should be saying that. Vanderbilt should be saying that. LSU should not be saying that. Enjoy Brian Kelly. Family. Enjoy my guy. All right? Have a good time. That being said, on paper, LSU ought to dog walk South Carolina. Akron Zips come to town on the 21st of September. Then you got Ole Miss. Little edge in that game, too, because like we talked about Juice Wells, right? That's a guy that transferred up out of South Carolina. Where'd he go? Down to the Portal King, Lane Kiffin. I can promise you there's going to be a couple of DBs wearing garnet and black that day. They're going to be looking to drop the hammer on old Juice Wells, who, now that he's gone, we all know he was kind of milking the NIL system before he left to go to Columbia. So, like, they're going to have a little something for Juice down there. Alabama's Alabama. Do you believe in Kalen DeBoer? I mean, let's be real. Kalen DeBoer's got a career record of what, like 131-5? Like, it's asinine how many games that guy's won in his career. I got no reason to doubt him. Texas A&M's a cult. No reason. I just needed to say it. It's a cult, and I hate them. Your fans are weird. Stop with the yell leaders. Stop cosplaying World War II soldiers. All right? You're in ag school. Act like it, please and thank you. I don't know where the break is. The break is, because I'll tell you right now, this Wofford team that comes down and plays South Carolina before they got to go to Clemson, Wofford is 40 minutes from Columbia. That's their Super Bowl, dude. Like, that's their Super Bowl. That's the game they want to go to Columbia and snag that upset win. That's their Appalachian State over Michigan. That's their thing right there. So there's no let up. There's no let up in this schedule, and I do not know. I do not know how it plays out. I mean, South Carolina could reasonably have 3 upset wins and be 6-6. Like, I don't know what to make of it. It's going to be a very tough year, and at the end of the year, you're going to have a decision to make of how many more years do we go? We're doing a great job building the culture. We're doing a great job building the character, building the spirit, whatever, before you go, we got to win some damn football games, boys. Because I got a feeling it ain't going to be after this year.
So you talked about Beamer doing a good job of being able to bring the talent in. And he's went head-to-head with LSU for a couple players, and most notably Nicholas Harbor, the incredible 5-star do-it-all athlete. What has his production been like in South Carolina, and how is he expected to play next year?
It's real interesting because Nick Harbor, who, if y'all didn't see that man running the 100-meter sprints, he was running.
Not supposed to be that big and be that fast,
bro. No, he's like the Incredible Hulk. You should not be that big and that fast. You got to pick one, my man. You got to pick one. Right. You either be fast or you can be big. You can't do both, but he does both. Here's the weird thing. Like, Nick Harbor is a freak athlete, and we all know that Nick Harbor is a freak athlete. Yet, during the spring, Nick Harbor was kind of like he was not really a featured wide receiver in the offense. He was like kind of a third guy. He was kind of an outlet pass. He was kind of and I don't know if that's because he was spending all spring getting into track and running his track events and trying to win some medals and all that, and he just wasn't dialed in, or if he's not developing the way they wanted him to. All I can say, guys, is sometimes you end up with a special roster on the athlete. Sometimes you end up with a guy who can just do things that other guys can't do, and that's Nick Harbor. And you've all seen it. I mean, you've seen the track, you've seen the catching the ball. What I really am interested in is how Nick Harbor matches with Lenora Sellers, who's going to be the QB for South Carolina, because it is going to be a much more run-oriented offense for South Carolina. It is going to feature a lot of quarterback runs. And when you are featuring the quarterback as a runner, having a guy like Nick Harbor behind him, whether he's getting the ball or not, that makes it a lot easier to utilize the quarterback in a run scheme. And I think that's where Nick Harbor comes into play. I don't know, man. Like, it's one of those guys that, like I said, we're through the spring. We've seen him a little bit. He has not really been featured. But also, do you really want to give everything away when you know you got a hard-ass season coming up ahead of you? Do you really want to put everything this kid can do on display? And the answer might be no. That also might be being optimistic.
Yeah, I feel you. You muted, bro.
My bad. I said I completely forgot about Nicholas Harbaugh on that roster. I completely forgot about him.
I think that's what Shane Beamer's hoping. I really do. I honestly think he's hoping people just forget who the hell that guy is and he can just show up as a wrecking ball. But like I said, man, we're halfway through spring. Not hearing a whole lot out of him yet, but we'll find out. It's early.
Yeah. I completely forgot about this too. Paul's brought up same conference slate for next year too. Because the SEC got lazy and said, we'll just flip it.
So let me ask you this, Rob. What is Rocket Sanders expected to start for y'all next year?
Look, Rocket Sanders is coming to be the one. I mean, he's RB1. There's no. That's not a prediction. That's just a fact. He's gonna be. He is gonna be the RB1, and I know that there are some concerns about Rocket because of the injuries. I have said a couple of times, like, if my man is capable of being 90% of what he was before he came over from Arkansas, that's an upgrade. That's an immediate upgrade for them. Rocket Sanders is a former All-American, obviously. He is a shoo-in to be the number one. He was one of the top 5 backs in the country in 2022 before, obviously, he got all hurt to hell and back last year. Sometimes you just need a move, right? Like, sometimes a change of scenery, a change in training staff. Sometimes you just got to be able to get out of your own head. We're seeing that. I'm a big Braves guy with Chris Sale, who came down from Boston. Now, all of a sudden, he's killing it in Atlanta for the Braves right now. Kind of that, sometimes you just got to get out of your headspace. And I think that is what the mentality is now. I will say that they kind of held him back a little bit during the springtime, right? Garnet Black game, didn't really see him getting a lot of totes, and a lot of that is because they are giving the kid all the time to get healthy. They're giving him all the time. Like, I would not be shocked if we don't see first contact for Rocket Sanders until like a couple of weeks before the season to just maximize his rehab. But again, if the dude can be a dude like he was at Arkansas, I think there's some time. I'll give you another name that I think really fits in well with Rocket is Juju McDowell. McDowell is a guy that has got some opportunities to be a phenomenal gadget running back that you can pair up with Rocket, because you know Rocket's the primary guy back there. And behind Lenora Sellers, who is also wildly athletic, you are going to see a lot of wild looks out of that backfield with Rocket and Juju McDowell back there and Lenora Sellers. And there's some more talent on this roster as well. Oscar Attaway, Jordan Harrell. Like, you've got some talent and some guys back there that can give you a bunch of different looks. And my question is, how inventive is Shane Beamer going to be, right? Like, how creative can he get with the weapons back there? Because I think this is one of those situations where you've got to look and go, we are not running up Georgia's neck, right? We ain't running up LSU's neck. They're better than us. They're bigger than us. How you run around them? How do you get them on their heels? And utilizing all these different gadget players in the backfield might be the play for Shane Beamer this year.
Yeah, man, Rob, truly appreciate you coming through. Ant, do you have any more questions before we get ready to go?
That's all I got, man.
I was going to ask you a Caitlin Clark question, but I'm gonna save it.
Oh, bro, I'm here for it.
I know you.
Why is she getting left off the Olympic team and you are sending 41-year-old Diana Taurasi? I love Diana Taurasi. I was there watching her in the UConn days, bro. I have been on the dub since Diana Taurasi came into the league. I love you, Diana. If you're listening, please forgive me. All right? I'm a big fan. But ain't no reason we are sending a 41-year-old Diana Taurasi and leaving Caitlin Clark on the bench. Y'all pretending like she's gotten 11 points a game because it's because she's playing a boxing one defense every time she goes out. Y'all sending 3 defenders. Send Caitlin Clark to the Olympics, damn it. I'm trying to win a gold medal, boys.
So I was going to say this for later on in the show, but I got a theory. Chelsea Gray is hurt right now. She made the Olympic squad. So I feel like Caitlin Clark's gonna end up being the replacement for Chelsea Gray, who can't play because of injury. And Caitlin Clark gets on the Olympic team. Everybody, you get headlines and all that. But what you just did for the past 3 days is get headlines and people talking about the WNBA and Caitlin Clark for not making that Olympic team. Then you turn around and put her on the Olympic team. Then you get another 3-4 days of headlines because she's on the Olympic team.
I like it. And I'll tell you what, we've been going back and forth, and there's been people calling my show and people listening to me going, all right, why are we doing this so much? I don't care. I don't care if it's because of hard fouls or trash talk or whatever. It is good that the WNBA is getting their time in the sun. It's good for the WNBA. It's good for the athletes. It's good for basketball. It's good for sport. And if this is what it takes to get it there and get people to pay attention to Olympic women's basketball, I'm here for it. I don't care how it happens, but you put the best women's basketball player on the planet, not named A'ja Wilson, you put her on that roster and let her go dime some threes and see what happens. Like, let's go win a gold medal. I'm not here for feel-good stories about 41-year-old Olympians, boys. I'm here to put the USA where we damn sure deserve to be at number 1 in the world in our game. Come on.
America!
Thank you.
Rob, as advertised, as good as Carter said you would be, thank you again for coming on. Before you go, I know you already did the shameless plug, but tell the people where they can find you.
I'll be happy to. Appreciate you guys having me. You can find me on X or Twitter or whatever the hell the kids are calling it nowadays, at The Rob Brown Show. That is my Instagram handle as well. If you want to listen to my show, it airs every Monday through Friday from 6 until 10 a.m. Eastern. That's 5 to 9, very early Central Standard Time. God's time zone, Central Standard Time. All right, only thing I don't like about this place is Eastern. I'll go back to Central any day. At thefanupstate.com. You can also subscribe to The Rob Brown Show on Spotify or iTunes or Google Pod or wherever you find your podcast by searching and subscribing to The Rob Brown Show. I also do a bunch of stuff throughout the week. I host the Saturday baseball show that you can find on the Odyssey app, AUDACY, called Bet for the Cycle. It is a baseball gambling show. If you're a degenerate like me, jump in. Otherwise, man, that's it. At The Rob Brown Show across the social media. I appreciate you having me. Boston -6.5. Let's go win this damn thing, Celtics.
All right. And I lied. I do have one question for you. I'm going to ask everybody we bring on. What feature on the new NCAA game are you most looking forward to?
Ooh. The Clemson feature. Have you heard about the Clemson feature? If you play Dynasty mode as Clemson, you don't get to use the transfer portal. They just add 5 average white wide receivers to your roster every time it rolls over. The Clemson feature. I'm a big believer. I can't wait to see it. I'm ready to play in Dabo mode. No, man, let me get my Dynasty mode back. I've already warned the fiance. I'm gonna say it real quiet because she's in that room right there. I've already told the fiance, and on the 29th or whatever day it comes out, that door is getting closed. I'm sitting dead center of that couch. Don't call me for 3 days. All right, I'm not going to work. All right, I'm not feeding the dog. If the dog's hungry, you can be like, you got it. The boss he's going to know I'm sick. I'm not leaving that couch for 3 days. Let's get it. I've been waiting a long time for this, fellas.
I love it, bro.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again.
Does the Clemson edition come with Dabo's Bible or no?
That's part of the transfer portal package. I'll tell you what, it is real interesting. I know this is a whole nother topic for another conversation, but man, Dabo's under the gun this year, right? Because one of two things is going to happen. Either Clemson's going to make it back to the playoff, they're going to win a couple of playoff games, and Dabo's going to be able to look at all of America and go, I told y'all could do it, and he's going to reset the way we think about the portal, or Dabo's going to go 8-4. They're going to miss the expanded playoffs. Everybody else is going to go, see, we told you, because there's 3 schools that did not take a transfer portal player. 2 of them are military academies, and the other one is Clemson. That's the only one. So if they fail to make the expanded playoffs out of the ACC, going to be a lot of folks looking at Dabo Swinney and asking, is it time to make a change? And I'm really excited to cover that because it's going to be dramatic as hell.
I bet it is.
Jesus is my NIL. All right. Rob, thank you again, man. Look forward to we got to bring you back during the season sometime and talk again, man.
Anytime, boys. Anytime. It takes nothing to get me to sit in a chair and talk about college football for an hour. Let's do it.
All right, sounds good. Ladies and gentlemen, that was our good man, Mr. Rob Brown. Man, I'm so fired up for football season.
Right, boy, I can't wait, my man. I can't wait.
Yeah, that man said the Clemson low.
And fight average wide receivers.
That's hilarious. Man, so we talked, you know what I'm saying? We said about he said he don't like reality shows, and he talked, you know what I'm saying, a little bit, gave his take on Caitlin Clark, man. You Friday. First of all, man, standing ovation, bro. Standing ovation. You had a phenomenal comparison to Caitlin Clark joining the WNBA, man. This your time, man. Talk to me, man. Talk to me about Caitlin Clark and all this crazy.
So, Colin Cowherd, I don't always agree with everything he says, but I think he's one of the best at what he does. He made a point. He was talking about Angel Reese being the villain and all that kind of stuff, which I really didn't agree with. But he made a point that said that the WNBA needs to be like country music. That people just get invited to a country music concert, whether they never listen to it or not. They go, they have a good time, and then now after the concert, they say that they're a country music fan now. You know what I mean? You know, I kind of agree with that. But it's the analogy that stuck out to me. And as I've been hearing people ask, why do the current WNBA players hate Caitlin Clark, and why is there resentment toward Caitlin Clark, and the media this, her fans that, and all this kind of stuff? It just hit me. And so a few years ago, Lil Nas X had a song called Old Town Road. Right? All the kids love the song. They blew up on the little country charts, and it set all kind of records and all this kind of stuff. And he made a lot of money off the song. And it was a type of country music that we had never heard before, right? Mm-hmm. All right, so imagine if Lil Nas X fans would have came out and said that Lil Nas X was the best country music artist ever, that he was the reason people listen to country music, and that country music artists should be glad that Lil Nas X put attention on their genre. The people who are actually like hardcore country music fans will be upset. You know, they talk about like Hank Williams and George Strait and all those guys from the, yesteryears who had country music artists who were great. And then they talk about the current country music artists like Luke Combs or whoever you want to talk about, who are selling out shows and doing their thing. And they want them to get respect. And the country music artists themselves will feel some type of way about this newcomer coming in and supposedly being better than them when they've worked their ass off for years to get a fraction of what he got as soon as he came in the door. And how many artists do you think would actually befriend Lil Nas X and try to help him? Or would they really like try to kind of shun him out of the country music industry and kind of show him that you can't just come in and dominate? So basically, Caitlin Clark is Lil Nas X. She's the person who brought the WNBA to the mainstream. She's the cash cow. She garners a lot of attention. And then sure, some players are going to be like Billy Ray Cyrus and make a song with her and tell her it's okay, you cool, you welcome here. But a lot of them ain't going to be cool with it. A lot of them are going to be resentment. There's going to be some of them that want to show her that it ain't going to be as easy as you thought it was to come in and take over what we've worked so hard to build. So I don't think it's her fault, but I think the media and Caitlin Clark fans had, and this is what Gino or Emery was saying, they set her up for failure because they thought she was going to come in and dominate right away. She was the number 3 or number 4 highest most bet for MVP in the WNBA as a rookie. That would be like saying, "Hey, Lil Nas X gonna win the Grammy his first year being or the best country music artist award or whatever. His first year being a country music artist. There's no way he's the best. He might have had the best year, but he's not the best. Caitlin Clark might have had the best career at Iowa, but that doesn't make her better than other players. And nobody gave the players in the WNBA credit. Nobody, and now everybody wants to say, "Oh, they better than I thought they was." But WNBA fans were trying to tell y'all back in April that it wasn't gonna be this easy. Diana Taurasi was called a hater. Cheryl Swoops was called a hater. All these people were called haters for saying she ain't gonna come in and dominate. But as she came in and she hasn't dominated, people are starting to see what those ladies were talking about and what some of these other people were talking about. And now they're starting to realize just how good the WNBA actually is. And now Caitlin Clark has to deal with the backlash of people coming at her when it wasn't even her who built this up.
Outstanding. When you said it, man, when you first said it, I saw you was going with it when you started talking about country and you said Lil Nas X, because that's exactly how it was. A lot of people didn't accept it as country music, but some people were talking about how it was so great and stuff like that. And it's exactly right. You know, people give Caitlin Clark credit for her skill set, but we also say that she's not the best player in the WNBA. She's not. I mean, to be fair, she's not the best player on her team. She's the biggest draw, but again, you know, and there's no hate towards Caitlin Clark. You know, she's a phenomenal player. Unfortunately, and unfortunate for her, Rob talked about and it's funny because when he said it about the reality show, this is what it's become. We've got a lot of people who have, I'm not gonna say never, rarely, barely have watched the WNBA, probably could name 2 or 3 players, and now they're commenting they're the be all know all of WNBA because they have a platform on a major network, and it's becoming a problem because now it's resentment. People are starting to resent hearing these things. And for my Twitter space people, we know the battle that go on Twitter space with a certain young, you know what I'm saying, young man over a young lady, and it's the resentment, you know, because it's like, hey, you know, these comments are a little outlandish, and that's kind of how it goes. So, but man, I want to touch on a little bit because we did talk about the Olympics, and you gave your theory. What do you think about the Olympic team?
I think it's one of the best Olympic teams ever assembled. I mean, when people got to realize just how good the U.S. women's Olympic team has been. You know what I mean? They've only lost like 3 games. You know what I mean? Like, so they don't need Caitlin Clark to win games. And people talking about putting eyes on the Olympics.
It's the freaking Olympics.
Yeah, last I checked, the Olympics need no help of viewership. You know what I mean? But I get it. There are some people who are gonna tune in if she's on the team, who might not tune in if she isn't. Great. But honestly, I think Caitlin Clark could personally use the rest because she's been playing nonstop since October of last year. You know what I mean? So she could really use a few weeks off to rest her body up. But I do think ultimately she takes Chelsea Gray's spot. And Chelsea Gray is injured, and so she doesn't. And Caitlin Clark is the reserve or whatever. But she ultimately makes it. But I feel like there's bigger snubs, man. Like Arike Ogunbowale not making it. And people like somebody said this the biggest snub ever. Like, let me take y'all back a few years.
Biggest snub. They're talking about WNBA or just period?
No, WNBA.
Oh, okay. Because I could think of a huge snub.
It ain't even the biggest in the WNBA. Let me take you back a few years ago. Candace Parker didn't make the Olympic team, right? She was 30 years old, didn't make the Olympic team. You know what she did?
What?
The next year, went out, won MVP and won a championship.
I don't see Indiana going out next year and win. But anyway, go ahead.
I'm just saying, like,
but yeah,
people saying it's the biggest snub ever and all that, like I don't think it goes back to what we were just talking about, bro. Like, if you don't know the game and you don't know all that, like, why are we making these bold proclamations and things, bro? Like, Nneka Ogwumike was an MVP, didn't make the Olympic team. Like there's been times where better players haven't made the team, and nobody said anything.
Yeah, none of the rookies are on the team, but you do have like Cameron Brinks in the 3-on-3, if I'm not mistaken. Or
I think you could have put Kaylin in the 3-on-3 before Haley Van Lith.
I would have accepted that. Yeah,
I'm just saying. Yeah. That 2016 Candace Parker snub was the biggest snub ever, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. NBA Finals update real quick. Rob can sleep easy, man. That Celtics -6 is gonna fly easy. It's the score right now is 103-93.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes. Yeah, 2 minutes left, or under 2 minutes now in the game. That's going.
Can we go back to Caitlin Clark?
Go ahead.
How uncomfortable can we get on this show?
Bruh, you know me. I'll raise I'm toxic anyway, as they say.
Because I feel like why did we make this show, right?
Mm-hmm.
We made this show to talk about these type of situations, right? And the biggest. So when we was talking Friday on the radio, Fox made a point to talk about representation, right? Like Caitlin Clark is doing things, and what she's been able to do made young white girls want to play basketball again, right? And some people have been like, well, what about Breonna Stewart? What about Sabrina Ionescu? What about insert white basketball player here? And I think that's where it goes a little bit deeper. So we know this country has been searching for a great white basketball player since Larry Bird retired, pretty much, right? They thought they had Christian Laettner. They thought they had J.J. Redick. You know what I mean? Adam Morrison, Jimmer Fredette. You know what I mean? They thought that all these guys were going to be the one who that was going to be the next great white hope in the basketball world. But it comes to find out that American white basketball player.
America!
It turns to find out that the great white hope for American basketball happens to be Caitlin Clark. And they found someone who checks all the boxes, right? Like Sabrina Ionescu was Caitlin Clark before Caitlin Clark. When she was doing what she was doing at Oregon, she might not have set the points record, but she was getting triple doubles and she was scoring 20, 10, 12 games. You know what I'm saying? She was doing all that, shooting long threes. She was doing all that. But the pandemic canceled the NCAA tournament that year. Oregon was the number 1 seed that year. Overall seed. If Oregon wins the national championship, people might be talking about Sabrina Ionescu before Caitlin Clark really gets on the scene. But Caitlin Clark was the perfect timing, and she becomes the great white hope. But why does she become the great white hope? Is my thing. It's because she checks all the boxes. She is a white, heterosexual female. All the other great white players who have come before her aren't heterosexual or they aren't feminine. They're masculine built. You know what I'm saying? Like Cameron Brink mentioned that most of the players who are the face of this league are either black, lesbian, or they're not feminine. Caitlin Clark is the antithesis to what is the NBA right now. And she gives like middle-aged white men hope that their daughter who likes basketball don't have to grow up to be a lesbian. She can grow up to be a heterosexual white woman. You get what I'm saying? So like representation does matter, but it matters to a certain demographic. Because certain, like, there's black little girls who've been having this representation their whole life. You know what I mean? They grew up the WNBA. They saw a woman who looks like them playing ball at the highest level their whole life. But for a white little girl, they hadn't always had somebody that could look up to them who is like them their whole life. You see what I'm saying? And now they have that. That's why she's so coveted.
Edwin say, do we know Caitlin is not gay? She has a boyfriend.
She works for the Indiana Pacers.
So, and Edwin, even if so, she presents as a heterosexual woman. So I get that. That makes a lot of sense because Breonna Stewart, Kelsey Plum, although
Kelsey Plum, people thought Kelsey Plum was Puerto Rican until this season. When she announced this season that she was white. But if you look at like Breonna Stewart, Sue Bird,
but Sue Bird's a lesbian. She's married to
my point. That's my
Megan
point.
Rapinoe.
Breonna Stewart is also, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. Like she's the first one, really one of the first ones at the right time who check all the boxes off.
Yeah. Andrew said, I didn't get a vote at the delegation for Caitlin Clark being the new Great White Hope. I think it was on January 6th. You had to be there. So my bad. Oh man. All right. Too far. All right. But nah, it's been interesting. I will say, like I told you, and I've mentioned before, I thank you for encouraging me to get the league pass last year. I didn't watch it as much. I paid attention mostly during the finals, but I've been eyes on glued this year. I was mad. I actually fell asleep yesterday. The sun killed me. I was outside yesterday. The sun killed me, and I fell asleep and missed the Sky Dreams game because I was ready to talk trash with Danny Girl. And missed the game. I'm glad I fell asleep now because they lost. But great game. The games overall have been phenomenal. Been able to watch, several people play. Caitlin Clark. Honestly, I've only watched one of her games. Only one. So,
I only watched that because I had money on it. So.
The only one I watched, against the Sky, and it was just because of the story. I wanted to see, and realistically. I want to see Cardoza back, and so I'm glad I watched the game.
I had money on the Sun versus the Fever a few weeks ago, and that was the only game I watched of hers. I'm sick of Caitlin Clark though, bro. I done muted the words Caitlin Clark, Caitlin, and official CC on Twitter.
You know something funny? After the draft? It might have been right before the draft. No, it was after the draft. No, it was before the draft. I can't remember. Either way, there was a guy got on Twitter and we got into it, and he was talking about we were debating. He was talking about Angel Reese will be nothing more than a bench player. He said Angel Reese will be nothing more than a bench player. And they came out the other day with the stats talking about the rookies, and Angel Reese was leading like all stats or something like that.
She was the
for June.
At one point, she was the I think ESPN had her ranked as the #1 rookie.
Yeah, she's
Cameron Brink was #2, Caitlin Clark was #3.
Yeah.
And before The children of the corn went crazy in the comments.
Yeah, man. Listen, right. I think if I'm not mistaken, Angel Reese leads the league in offensive rebounds. She's tied for 5th for rebounds overall. She's 5th for like steals
or something. Ain't she?
She's the only person that's top 5 in both steals and rebounds. So I was like, wow. So I literally, Edwin, listen, I took that and I retweeted. I was like, not bad for start for a career. I ain't heard a response back yet. I'm just waiting on Jaden Daniels to do his thing because yeah. So it's on though. It's on. I'm looking forward to it. You ready for me to the part of the show I know you don't care about, but I'm gonna get you to talk about it anyway.
What?
All right, man. So it was rumored JJ Redick was going to the Lakers. Now Dan Hurley is the big name. What's your thoughts, Dan Hurley to the Lakers? He said, let me preface this. He said they gave him a lot to think about, and he'll make an announcement on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. If you Dan Hurley, it's the Lakers. You know what I mean? It's the prestige of the franchise. I don't even think it's necessarily as much of you get the ability, the chance to coach LeBron as much
coach
as
in the NBA. Yeah.
He could coach anywhere in the NBA he wants to, but how many franchises are the Lakers? You know what I'm saying? With that cachet and that prestige. My question, why now? Whenever you probably got a 3-peat, or the probably had the best chance to win the next year, which would be a 3-peat. But I mean, I get it. If they're gonna make you an offer you can't refuse, and you get to go coach for one of the most historical franchises in all of pro sports in the big lights of LA, I mean, you gotta take that chance when you get it. But I also could see this being a way for him to just be trying to get him more of a raise at UConn also. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I heard somebody throw this out too, which I don't know how, I don't remember who said it, but what if JJ Redick is the guy, but he knows he's the guy, so he's demanding too much salary, or he's demanding a longer, like 6 years instead of 4 years, whatever the case may be. And then they said, all right, well, we're just gonna go see what Danny Hurley talking about then, in an effort to try to get JJ Redick to kind of compromise on some things. So we'll see.
Yeah. Danny, stop hating in your blood.
It's the thing though, if you LeBron, you want Danny Hurley.
Yeah.
The reason I say that ain't necessarily for LeBron, but it's because LeBron gonna have LeBronny drafted, and you got Danny Hurley, who's a better coach for Bronny than JJ Redick would be.
Yeah. Another name I heard they said that they're secretly pursuing Jay Wright, former Villanova coach.
He ain't coming out.
Yeah, so
he ain't coming out. That dude got the best job in college basketball.
All right. Man, as we get ready to wrap up here, Adrien Broner. Did you see that last night? Dude got knocked out. I ain't watched the fight, but he got knocked out, and not just knocked out. He got hit so hard his tooth came out.
Dude need to give it up, man.
Hey, I'm talking about he got hit, like, what I'm saying? He hit the ground and tooth went one way, he went the other way. Somebody picked his tooth up and stuff, and he was at the dentist today getting it repaired. So, and then you know what he said when he was walking out the arena? That dude ain't beat me. Dude got whooped. So, yeah. Right. Hey. Speaking of giving it up, pause. Darren Waller is retiring.
He got CTE. He need to retire.
You took the words out of the random divorce. The
divorce wasn't random.
Oh, it's not? Oh, okay. You must know more than I do. We'll talk later.
The video?
He
put out a video, a music video. Go watch the music video. The dude got CTE, bro.
Yeah, I definitely. But yeah, that's what I thought, you know, saying the random changes in life event. I worry about his safety. His
go watch the video. You gonna worry about his mental health for real, bro. It's
disturbing because stuff like that, when people do stuff like that, that's
he got a Kelsey Plum lookalike in the video.
Telltale signs, bro. Telltale signs. Man, you got anything else for us to hit on?
Nah, man, that's all I got.
Man, I want to say again, I appreciate Rob Brown for coming through. Phenomenal guest. Had a lot to talk about. We'll be back on Wednesday. UCLA, believe in UCLA. Talk to the guys. We're gonna talk. I'm. You know the first question I'm gonna ask. When y'all come to Tiger Stadium, y'all wearing sissy blue?
In honor of it, man, they whooped our ass, bro.
I know, but it's funny though. It is hilarious. I want to know about that.
I already talked about that, man. I already talked about Dodgers whooping the Yankees' ass, man.
Yeah, second best series this weekend. Let me stop. I ain't watched a lick of MLB baseball. I'm gonna tell you something. I'm so not ready or not even caring about. His -6 hit. It was final score was 105-98.
Barely, boy.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you how so not baseball I am right now. When the clips come on Twitter, I mute them. Moved on. I don't care.
Only people I've been watching is Dodgers.
I ain't watched. I literally have not watched an ounce of baseball. So,
man, I gotta go watch this, man. We about to lose to the damn Sparks, bro. We tripping.
All right, man. Let's get up out of here. What my theme music? Appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight. Like I said, we'll be back on Wednesday. For all my HBCU folks, we start tomorrow breaking down games. Looking forward to that. Getting back to HBCU. We'll be talking with North Carolina A&T and Hampton. And like that, we out.
This show was presented by betonline.ag. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe on Twitter at Golden Boot. On Instagram at Golden Boot. On YouTube at The Golden Boot Pod. On Facebook at The Golden Boot Pod.
Golden Boot!